I had a chance to go to Sudan this past January, and just touching down in Sudan, after 3 years of not being able to go because of the war, left me in tears. Sudan is filled with resilient heroes. I met Dr. Yasser Jabra, a man who'd be making a salary of $400,000 if he was working in America as an ER doctor, and he gave that up to earn just $200 a month serving patients in Sudan for 3 years, a country facing what the World Health Organization calls the world's worst humanitarian crisis on earth, where a child dies every 3 hours from starvation in a land that is rich with agricultural resources, while preventable diseases like cholera, the measles, malaria, and dengue fever spread across displaced tent-dwelling families, where doctors treat young girls who've gone through unspeakable sexual violence, without anesthesia, without proper tools, under the threat of armed groups. Almost 34 million need humanitarian aid. More than a third of healthcare facilities are non-functional. Over 150,000 are estimated to be dead. April 15th marks 3 years since the war in Sudan began. For 3 years, we didn't return to our homeland. For 3 years, we didn't get to see our families. In these 3 years, 13.6 million people have been displaced, making Sudan the largest displacement crisis in the world. How did we get here? To understand this war, you have to go back. In 2019, a revolution overthrew the dictator Umar al-Bashir after 30 years in power. The world watched as thousands gathered in Khartoum calling for freedom. There was real hope that Sudan could finally build something better. But on June 3rd, 2019, that hope was shattered. In Ramadan, the Rapid Support Forces, the RSF, massacred over 100 protesters. A friend told me that day, the sky doesn't look the same anymore. It was the first time such violence would happen in the capital. Khartoum was no longer safe. A transitional council was formed, but in October 2021, the military overthrew the civilian prime minister, and for 18 months, the army and the RSF wrestled for power. The RSF is led by Mohammed Hamdan Dagalo, Hemeti, a man who rose through the Janjaweed militias during the Darfur genocide of 20 years ago and now controls gold mines worth billions. By April 2023, negotiations collapsed. Khartoum woke up to heavy artillery and gunfire. This didn't happen in a vacuum. Negative state actors in the region have been taking advantage of the fragility of the Sudanese state to launch a proxy war that will allow for them to usurp Sudan's resources. Call things by their proper names. This is not a civil war. This is genocide, enabled by those profiting from Sudan's resources. When the ground met my feet after 3 long years, I couldn't help but break down. Another hero I met was Dr. Safat Yusuf, who runs the largest maternity hospital in Sudan, delivering 130 babies a day. When the RSF shells hospitals, it belies their claim that they're seeking to rule over Sudan, because why would you destroy the infrastructure of the society you're actually trying to govern? She refused to leave and stayed in the care of her patients throughout the occupation. There is incredible resilience and hope in Sudan. We attended the opening of Bahri Hospital. Bahri Hospital was shelled by the RSF. By early 2026, Bahri Hospital had reopened after extensive reconstruction and renovation efforts spearheaded by Muslim-led organizations in the United States. When we did the reopening, the community was incredibly happy. People were saying that now that they have healthcare again, our families will be able to return, our neighborhoods will be able to return. The hospital brings life back to the community. Not only that, people were saying the hospital now looks even better and is more equipped than it was before the war. The Sudanese people are not passive victims. They are people of incredible courage, of sabr, of sacrifice, of zuhd, and belief in Allah. There's a real sense of hope that Sudan can come back stronger and maybe even better than it was before. But they can't do it alone. We can't do it alone. 3 years in, international attention has faded while the crisis deepens. You see it on your feed and keep scrolling, swallowing the guilt, the tents, the rib cages of children, the violence against girls, the fall of Al-Fashir last October when blood could be seen from satellite images in space. So what will you do about it? First, amplify Sudanese voices, share their stories, follow Sudanese journalists reporting from the ground at great personal risk, pressure media outlets to cover this. We force the world to pay attention to Palestine. We can do the same for Sudan. Not the same crisis, but the same tool, attention. Second, support humanitarian organizations delivering food, medicine, and safe passage. Every dollar can be the difference between life and death. Giving your wealth will only increase your risk. Third, Demand political accountability. Contact your representatives and demand sanctions on those arming the RSF. Call out US complicity. Fourth, use your economic weight. Where you spend is where you stand. Refuse to finance systems that sustain this violence. Boycott goods. Change travel plans. And fifth, make dua. Dua is the weapon of the believer. Your tahajjud has a power you can't see because that power belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But remember, dua, though is of the greatest of actions, we also roll up our sleeves and go to work. 3 years of war, the world's worst humanitarian crisis, but also 3 years of unbreakable resilience from the Sudanese people. So don't forget about Sudan. Don't let the world forget about Sudan.